So today we are really happy to discuss the teaching of languages in a moment where we value more and more the teaching of different languages at Pitt. For us, this is crucial. It's a crucial mission of the centers, and we believe it's also a crucial mission of the American University. So we'll have first Ruth Jimenez Nina, who is a Quechua linguist, researcher, activist from Bolivia. She has a master's in Indo-American Linguistics and also studied Applied Linguistics at San Simon University. She's a member of the Indigenous Research Center, Taki, Unquy, Cochabamba, and her research is about sociolinguistics, language acquisition and teaching, and anthropological linguistics. She's also the recipient of the 2020 French Institute of Andean Studies Young Research Support Grant, and is our current Fulbright FLTA to teach Quechua here at the University of Pittsburgh. So after Ruth, we'll hear from Thatiellen Almeida Ribeiro, who is also our current FLTA at the University of Pittsburgh to teach Portuguese. She has a bachelor degree in English from the Federal University of Tocantins. She's a master's candidate in Applied Linguistics at the University of Brasília, and she has been teaching Portuguese as an additional language for indigenous groups, international learners, and works especially with minority communities in Brazil. So again, we're very, very happy to be here, for you to be here, and please, Ruth, start.
Yes. Sumak unchay tukuipa, Norakani Ruth Jimenez Nina, Bolivia Manta Pacha. Amoni kaikama tukui pikunachus kawamushangu chaigunapa upatuna paigui. So hi everyone, my name is Ruth. As you heard, I'm Quechua from Bolivia, and I just sent a greeting to all the people who are supporting us or maybe watching us online. I hope so. There are some Bolivians around. And yeah, so I'm going to present a Quechua at Pitt and what does it mean. And for that, we're going to start with the first question, what is Quechua? And sometimes it happens to me a lot when I say like, I'm working with Quechua, or I work as an activist of Quechua. People tend to ask like, wait, what? Quechua, the brand? And I'm like, no Quechua, the brand, no. And when I say that I'm an activist, people also ask, so you work for Decathlon? And I'm like, oh, no, not that Quechua, I'm sorry. So it happens that outside Latin America, we can have this question, what is Quechua and what does it mean? So I would like to say that Quechua is a language family. Actually, it is the most widely spoken native language in South America. Quechuas, we are in the south part of Colombia, we are in Ecuador, we are in Peru, we are in Bolivia, we are in the north part of Chile and Argentina. So it's a huge population, around 8 million to 10 million people. And also Quechua people are a native Andean civilization. Quechua is our culture, but Quechua is also our identity. So this is very important for me to talk about because in Bolivia we call it Quechua, that's still Quechua. In Peru they call it Runasimi, that's still Quechua. In Ecuador they call it Quechua, that's still Quechua. So we're a huge family, as you can see. And what is a Quechua person doing at Pitt? Well, as a Fulbright foreign language teaching assistant, I am studying here to begin with. So I'm also teaching here, and I'm here to learn and to expand my knowledge in everything possible. So right now I'm taking a Hispanic anthropology class, which is very interesting and I'm enjoying a lot. Because I took this course in particular because I want to understand the relationship between Spanish and Quechua and how these languages are interacting in the Bolivian society. But also, I want to understand the view of others about our Spanish. So it's super interesting, and my professor is here. So I will stop talking about that. But being a teacher gives me also the opportunity to know the students and to know their perspective and get insights of what they think about Quechua. It also gives me the opportunity to work with Alana, who is also here. She is the Quechua professor here at Pitt, and I'm really glad to work with her because I think we have similarities in point of views and vision, and it's been really a pleasure. And hopefully, with this experience, we're going to be expanding not only our knowledge, but also our understanding of other cultures, of American culture, because we're here, and develop our skills more. So that's what I'm doing. And I really wish I can say that my journey just began last year when we were applying for this program, but actually it didn't because my journey began 30 years ago. When my parents decided to move from our small village to a bigger village to go to school. So for Quechua people, education was beyond our reach. It wasn't right at that time. And education is a result of a lot of protests and reclamations of our grandfathers for us to have now access to education. So I will say that my journey actually is the pursuit of education since the very beginning, when we migrated to a bigger city to go to school, and then when we moved to another city to go to university. And this is not only my journey, this is the journey of all the Quechua people around the world who are starting to get like higher degree education. And yeah, I think some of us have migrated because we needed to work. And we are in other countries. There is a big population in Brazil, in Spain, here in the US too. But I'm very lucky and fortunate because my situation is different. I'm here to study and to teach, and others are here in other places working. So education is still a privilege for us. And the FLTA process began when I saw an advertisement on Facebook. It was the embassy's Facebook page, and they were calling for applicants to come to the US and to teach Quechua. And I was like, no, this is fake news. This is not possible. And the first time that I saw, I didn't believe it. So I just keep going with my life, and I was fine. But then other people that I know were coming to the US. And it was, one time it was my colleague from university, and then it was someone that I know that works with Quechua too. And then I realized, oh wait, this is possible. This is really happening. So I decided to apply, and I sent all my documents in April 2024, and we were waiting, we wait for 2 months, and then we heard news from them, and we had an online interview. I had an online interview in June 2024. It was a long interview, a lot of questions about my motivations, my methodology of work, how can I teach Quechua at an American university, and yeah, so it was a lot of mixing languages too, because it was in Quechua, then Spanish, then English. And at the end, I think I did just fine. So after like 3 months, they told me that I was the primary nominee and that I had to take English proficiency exam. So, and that was a good news. It was good news for me, but then I realized, oh, wait, so if I am the primary nominee, that means that there is someone else waiting for me to fail. Well, maybe not, but there was someone else waiting for this opportunity. So I studied very hard for my exams and I prepared myself, and things didn't change because we were still the two of us. And in January 2025, I sent all my medical exams and everything that they required. And finally, in June 2025, finally we got the news that we were assigned to a US institution. And I was coming to Pittsburgh. And so yeah, in August of this year, I just arrived here. Everything was new. I didn't know anybody here. And it is also my first time here in the US, so it was quite a bit of a cultural shock, but everything's fine. We are very positive. And good news is that this is the first year that the Fulbright Program is granting two places for two Quechua people to come here to the US. So this never happened in the Fulbright Program before in Bolivia, but this year, Jenny, the other Fulbright, is at the University of Michigan, and I am here at Pitt. So finally, it's been the two of us coming to the US, and we didn't need to compete anymore. So it was hard to know that somebody else was coming for your place. Anyways, after I got here and we started teaching Quechua here at Pitt with Alana, it's been such a pleasure, and I have learned a lot in this short time, but also I enjoy a lot, like being in class with them. And I think this is due to our amazing students. And Theo is here with us, but also not only Theo, the full class, they are really amazing. They are very thoughtful with the things they say. They ask such a good questions. And in general, I think my experience would be so much different if it weren't for them. So I'm very glad that we have them. And I think what we work with Alana and what we agree on is that knowledge actually is built when we listen to others. Knowledge is woven with communication. So there is a lot of dialogue in our class, a lot of debate, a lot of sharing too, like perspectives, my perspective on things sometimes, Alana's perspective, and our students' perspectives. So I really want to say that we're learning a lot from each other. And I'm really happy that we have this methodology with Alana too. And when I was coming to Bolivia, to the US from Bolivia, I had some people asking me, but why do they teach Quechua in the US? Why is that? And I know that comes from a place of Bolivian society where Quechua is not accepted. And even though nowadays Quechua is taught at universities in Bolivia, there is still a quite negative attitude towards it. And people don't think that it is useful to learn or to teach Quechua. So they were shocked that they were teaching Quechua in the US, and why are they doing that? I was like, well, Quechua is very interesting from the linguistics point of view to start with. Quechua has a great morphology. It's quite interesting also for the phonetics because we're a fun language doing stops. And I think anyone who wants to pursue maybe a linguistics degree would be willing to learn Quechua or about Quechua, or at some point have reviewed some Quechua grammar or morphology or things like that. So I think from the linguistic point of view, it's very interesting, but also I don't think you fully understand Latin American history or society without talking indigenous people in the Americas. And Quechua is the largest one. So if we don't understand Quechua and the relationship of Quechua people with the societies of Latin America, I don't think we can fully comprehend this population. So I think it's very important if we want to look at Latin America to also understand Quechua people. And there are many issues that are concerning us, but I don't think it's only our problem, you know, things like migration, access to education, loss of knowledge or historic memory, social inequality, discrimination, resilience, identity strength, but also the richness of alternative knowledge is not only a Quechua problem, it's a global problem. It's a problem for the humanities too. So I think if we understand Quechua people, we are going to be more open to understand other populations, other indigenous people, and other societies too. And we really want to raise awareness among the new social actors, our students, and in the future, real, social actors, about the importance of understanding other cultures and maybe to cause a change in the future so anyone else is going to use our name to put a brand or to use it for a brand in the future, you know, maybe that will happen. So thank you so much. Tinku Nakama, which is until the next time that we see each other. And I'm a Quechua activist too, so if you want to follow our social media, it's Quechua Nina. It's going to be a pleasure. Thank you so much for listening.
And then we open for questions for both of
Okay, after this presentation, you're up, girl. Nervous, why nervous?
You don't need to be like, we're not biting yet.
Oi, gente. Meu nome é Thatiellen. Prazer estar aqui. Hi, I'm Thatiellen. It's so good to be here today. Thank you for having me. So, my presentation, Ensinando Português, Teaching Portuguese, my journey as a Portuguese FLTA. Quem sou eu? Who am I? My name is Thatiellen, but you can call me Tach. I think it's simple, right? Thatiellen, so cute name. I'm 24 years old, and I'm from Tocantins, not Rio de Janeiro, not São Paulo in Brazil, Tocantins. That is the north of Brazil. Curiosity is the newest state in Brazil. So, and that's it. My favorite food is piqui, rice and piqui, with piqui. Piqui is a specific fruit of my state, so I really miss it. It's a traditional dish from my region. I'm true Sagittarius. I like to bring other curiosities besides professional ones. So I love traveling and meeting new people and places. So this one day was a dream being here. So I also love singing, but I'm not a good singer. So Ruth is my roommate, by the way. She suffers a lot because I have the time like doing my stuff and singing out loud. Sorry, Ruth. But I really love working with songs.
Oh, wow.
What happened?
This is in purpose. You.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, sorry. So that's what some curiosities about me. My experience so far, like with teaching language, mostly specifically in Brazil, but with English language, specific with teenagers, kids, etc. My experience, I'm going to talk a little bit about teaching Portuguese in Brazil as well, but my first time teaching Portuguese to foreigners, so. Also, I'm studying Applied Linguistics, my master. So at the same time that I'm working and studying here, I'm also studying Brazil. I finished all my course, my discipline, so now I'm just writing my dissertation. I started teaching when I was 15. How is that possible? Yeah. I'm going to also talk about my background. Learning English in Brazil is expensive. Like, in general, if you want to like have a proficiency in language, you need to attend a course. All that, but you don't study English in public schools. Yeah, we study, but it's not enough. Only in general, it's like 1 class, 2 class, with like 40 students in a classroom. So, you know, like some can learn, of course, but it's challenge. It's a challenge. So when I was 11, it was my first English class in public school. And I was like, oh, that's different. I like that. And I was really interested in the language. And I had a English teacher. And then one day I arrived at home crying a lot. My mother was really worried about that. Why is this girl crying? And I was crying and saying, no, the English class, the English class. My mother was so worried about it. She went to school to ask why I was crying to my teacher. And then my teacher, I don't know why she's crying. And then everybody, they asked me, like, and I didn't want to confess because I got an 8, my first time in my life in English, and I was crying, 8. Do you believe that? And then the professor was like, the teacher was like, why is this girl crying? And I had to express that was something that I was really interested in learning, and it was really motivating, that I love her classes, and she kept an eye on me, you know. And then one day there were a school language, going to public school to give opportunity to some students scholarships to study in their English school. And then they gave my teacher like some scholarships. I think it was 4 like percentage, 50% of a scholarship, 80%, and 100. And then my teacher gave me the 100 scholarship for 2 years to teach to learn English in that school. So that's why I start learning English for real, like really learning English. And then I studied for 2 years, and then the scholarship like, over, girl, come on, you need to pay. And I didn't have the money, and my parents didn't either. So the owner invited me to work with them so I could study with the money of work, you know, like get my salary and start in the school. I started working as a secretary when I was like 14. And then after I became a teacher to kids with 15, when I was 15. So that's my journey with English, and I still need to study a lot right now. I'm improving a lot, of course, speaking in English here and studying and attend course. And that's the whole story what I started teaching. Okay, that's how we rise with Taki. So you can see. My teaching experience, so I went to college, I took part in some programs and projects. I used to teach English, and my first experience teaching Portuguese was with Indigenous people, because they used to go to UFT, that is the Federal University of Tocantins. And my campus, they had a lot of Indigenous people going to study. And they arrived there like knowing Portuguese, but the writing part was difficult, the formality, you know. So, and also I used to teach English. So that was my first experience teaching Portuguese besides English. What else? My FLTA process. I found out about FLTA when I was still in college, but I couldn't apply because I need to have a degree. So I was like all the time seeing the process, following people on social media, people that were here, but I just could apply last year. So it was a little different from Ruth process. I'll talk a little bit about it. First, we had the application stage of July. I had to fill out the application with a lot of essays about my motivations, about my background, methodology, etc. And then I was like, my mother used to say that, I don't know if I can say that in English correctly, but it's like, the no you already have, look for your yes. So I try it, but I was not like, oh, if it's okay, it's okay. If not, that's okay. I try to comfort myself, but And then I sent, so I had to talk about how I would teach Portuguese here, about my background, etc. It was huge. I took like more than 3 weeks to do everything. Then also with the application, we had to submit a Duolingo English test and a video, like in 30 seconds, saying why you should be selected, why it's you, not anyone else. And I was like, I'm not going to show you. It was so embarrassing. I don't know how they chose me, but anyway. And then the interview, it was only in October, so it was like July, October. And in the interview, we had also to present a Portuguese like class, a lesson plan, and I had to, in 10 minutes. So I had to present my class. I use a song. I really love working with songs, my students know. So I use a song called The USA of Piauí, the United States of Piauí, from Luis Gonzaga. That is like a song kind of criticize globalization, but like not criticize, like mixed language. So the song is really interesting because it talks about Brazil culture and also US culture, you know. So I used this song to prepare class. I had to, the interview was in English and the class was in Portuguese, so also mixing language. I was, in general, I get so nervous in situations that I need to, you know, but I try to keep myself calm, to stay calm and be myself. So the other part of the interview, they were asking specific things about me and specific things about what I wrote. Some quite personal question as well. Like I remember a question that I was like, "Wow, I didn't understand." They asked, "Oh, how is your heart?" And I was like, "My heart? Oh, it's okay." But she was talking about my love life because, you know, if we're going to spend 9 months, and I was like, "No, I'm okay." And in the end, I realized, no, it was not about my heart. Yeah. And so about this, how I would balance my master with working and studying here. So I try to like explain that I'm trying to organize my things and try to say that I would deal with it, okay, right? And then the results was November. So November, they made a trick with us. They sent a link to us and saying, we need to update you about your application. We want to talk to you so you can continue on the process. And then they sent the link to the 12 FLTAs from Brazil that they would be selected. And we got in the meeting and the coordinator was like, we don't have good news for you. And tried to say concerning things. And then she said, you were selected. So everybody was in the meeting and we were start crying. Everybody was crying. And then Brazilians, we are really active in social medias and, you know, etc. And then we organized a WhatsApp group and we started talking and crying, celebrating. And we became really good friends, the 12 FLTAs that came to US. So in January, I took the TOEFL exam. For me, that was the hardest part, guys. So I had to study a lot, and because it's not like knowing English, you need to understand the structure of the proficiency exam. So for me, that was the hardest part. We had to wait for the confirmation from the US university. So from January, medical things, etc. We waited until June, almost a semester in the expectation, you know. And also because of the news, we were afraid of the program could be canceled, etc. So it was a period that really stressed a lot, like everybody, we were like really anxious. June, we got the placements, and then I knew that I would come here. And curiosity, FLTAs from Brazil, they have an Instagram page where they public things from like from people that are here. So we keep updating this page. And then Luisa, the other FLTA from Brazil that was here with you last year, she had like a takeover on Instagram. She was talking about her daily routine here teaching. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I wish I could go to this university. And I was like, please, please. And then the university said, yeah, you're going. So I love that when I found out that I would come here, I was really excited. July, we got the visa. So it was when all the FLTAs, we met in person for the first time. And that's it. August, everybody was traveling to US. So here's a map of the Brazilian FLTAs in the US, a lot of different states. And that's it. So far, so good. So here, my experience, since I found out that I would come here, I was really shocked with the how Luis, Anna welcomed me. They organized meetings where when I was still in Brazil to like say everything would be okay. Also my first time in the US, so everything new, you know. So I really appreciate the support that Luis and Anna gave me until I arrived here. And right now, of course. So I'm teaching right now Portuguese for Spanish speakers because I also learning Spanish. That's amazing. And I have like 9 students. I'm a primary structure, so I'm the only one teaching to them. It's a responsibility. I try to emphasize on communication and culture. So I'm all the time talking about Brazil, and I know that there are other countries that speak Portuguese, but I focus specifically in Brazil. Activities, I really love working with songs, dialogues, cultural activities, okay? And I have fun. And then, as I told you, we are so active on social media. I try to share my experience with my followers as well. And I brought a video that I recorded while I was teaching a song. I'm gonna show you. I tried to put subtitles, but it's really...
Oi, vem comigo para mais uma semana ensinando português na University of Pittsburgh. Gente, essa semana foi muito divertida, porque eu apresentei a MPB para os alunos, música popular brasileira, explicando o contexto, alguns cantores famosos e estilos mais conhecidos, e dei destaque à banda tribalista, porque eu apresentei a música Velha Infância para eles. Tivemos todo esse contexto antes de entender a música. Bom, resolvi apresentar a música Velha Infância, porque estamos praticando os verbos regulares, como gostar, dançar, cantar, e a música está cheia deles. Primeiro, ouvimos juntos e interpretamos a letra. Em seguida, eles fizeram um exercício para identificar palavras-chave e descobrir o significado de algumas palavras novas.
Guiar, abrir, seguir, sentir, encher. Então, bora lá. Angélica, você gosta de dançar?
Depois disso, destacamos os verbos da música e praticamos em contexto. Eu fazia perguntas diretas e eles criavam perguntas um para os outros. E, por fim, fofocavam para mim o que os colegas tinham respondido. Foi super divertido e interativo.
Melhor amiga se chama Carol.
That's it. Okay. I really enjoy teaching Portuguese so far. It's like I need to prepare all my classes, so I feel like a responsibilities in bringing like good stuff, good debate, so they can really practice with context. And also, I'm always part of my work as an FLTA. I need to take part in cultural activities, right? And here, I'm taking part in conversations tables like Bate-Papo, that is organized from Brazil Next Club. So they really have a club with students who speaks Portuguese and organize events. It's a good organization. And the recent event that we organized, that they organized, that I took part, was a brigadeiro sale. I helped them to make brigadeiros. That is a Brazilian sweet. Move night, talking about like a movie that is real, that the bird one, but it's like we watch in Portuguese. They had a picnic, conversation time, bate-papo. We visit the Center for Latin American Study with Joyce, who's another Portuguese. Trivia nights, a lot of events that I take part in. I'm loving it. I love how they engaged they are, so it's really nice. So here, when I was talking about my state, in a bate-papo, in a conversation table, here it was the movie night with the students. Here, my first event here, like we say pamphletando, like we were like, can I say that? Campaigning? Yeah, like promoting the Portuguese program and etc. Here it was a picnic, and it was yesterday. I was the other, Joyce is also a Portuguese. Adam is the coordinator, and Chris is also another Portuguese teacher. So we were having a meeting, and that's it. Okay, I'm talking too much. I'm going to pass a little fast. My challenge and culture shock. Oh, since I arrived, I have had some, but like the specific one that I want to share with you, that I also shared with the Brazil Nights Club, was like how people are really engaged here, like with everything, like really engaged with activities. That's not like Brazil, we are engaged, but like university students here, they really take part in volunteer work, and they really organize and take part in a lot of different clubs. That's really nice. But at the same time, they have events on Sunday. For me, that's a cultural shock. Yeah, like how come? Sunday is my rest day. I don't want to go to college. I don't want to study. But here they go, and the university promotes events on Sunday. So for me, that was different. So that's the thing. That's normal. But balancing work, studying, social life, right? And that's also the card things. I remember from the first time we had a lunch with Luis, and the payment, you need to give your card to the waiter. That's shocking. That would never happen in Brazil. So things that I miss in Brazil, my dog. So that's for me. I was talking to Anna that this is Dara. She's 10 years old, and that's the thing that I miss, like the only thing that I miss every day in Brazil. She was my companion, so yeah, the thing that, if you ask me, that I feel like most saudade is a missing word in Portuguese, is that. And I also have enjoying a lot because I have support. So Ruth is my roommate, and also this is Higgins, another roommate, but it's not a roommate. She lives in front of us in another apartment, and we are helping each other since we arrived here. She's also Higgins is also another FLTA. So like different culture, different connection, but we are helping each other a lot. So it really helps me, living here. Academic experience at Pitt. As part of the program, we need to attend courses, disciplines here. I have been studying linguistics for 10 years, so I decided, no, I don't want anything with linguistics. I'm going to take something different, and I decided to take 2 disciplines in history department. I'm loving it. I'm having this discipline, memory and violence in Latin America. That's so deep and but really important to debate, especially nowadays. And natives and newcomers about American culture, indigenous people, about your culture. And that's it. So I'm learning about Latin American history and North American history. Just to finish, I'm really enjoying my journey so far. I think I have been improving a lot as a professional, also as a person. Also bringing bridges between Brazil and US, like my students are like, I want to go to Brazil. Okay, come to Brazil, go to Tocantins. Because that's why we are here. We are ambassadors. We want to promote our country. We want people to know more about other cultures, And so I feel really happy for this opportunity and for learning a lot. Here are some pages that I want to promote. That's the FLTA from Brazil, if you want to check more, because we try to post our videos, our experience, not only me, okay, the other also, and we share that. So if you are interested in seeing more about FLTA Brazil teaching Portuguese around the US, follow that page. This is BrazilNet's Portuguese student at Pitt. Follow that page. So we post events. They post events about what's going to happen here. You know, all the activities. And this is me, my professional page. I use Instagram a lot, my favorite social media, and I try to connect with my students, my colleagues in this page. And that's it. I'm sorry for talking too much. That's a Brazilian thing, I think, but that's me. Grateful for, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for being here. Obrigada.
I have two questions actually for you. I'm first, you know, when I opened and said before that how important it is for us to be able to teach languages here, I mean, everywhere, but here. And I think that with both of them, it's sort of like we all understand how crucial that is for the advancement of knowledge and to really understand those things. So I want to know, I'm very curious to know in both cases, who are the students? Who takes our classes in Quechua and Portuguese? I don't know if we have some here, but also, Ruth, you were talking about the relationship between Spanish and Quechua that we're studying. I was thinking about Portuguese and
Spanish.
no, I was thinking about Portuguese in the indigenous languages, and especially being from the Tocantins. How you said, you talked a little bit about that when you said that there is this tension that not everyone really thinks about, that it's value. There's a value on speaking Quechua and learning Quechua, and then being here is a way to say, you know. But being from Brazil, I also know that it's the same. So I wonder if you could talk about it. Also your process of learning. I mean, you two are so fluent in English. And so that process of learning languages, I think your native speaker, but Huchi, I mean, I'm wondering what's your first language and how did you learn the other one? Anyway, those are the things that I was thinking while I was listening to you, and I couldn't be more grateful for your presentation. Thank you.
The discussion about indigenous population and like Spanish language, we have this discussion a lot of times at home. And I think in the case of Bolivia, it is very significant because it's been wide since the very beginning. And it's difficult for me to say this, but I think we are very rebellious. And Quechua people, Aymara people, Andean cultures really fought for education, fought for a space in politics. They fought for a space in the cities even, you know, because at some point it wasn't allowed for us to go to the bank. It wasn't allowed for us to sit in the same restaurant that the white people. So it's been really a long process through these years. And even now, there is still this tension. It's not only linguistically, it's also socially. And actually, we just got a new president this Sunday. And I think all the campaign before the elections, it was focused on racism and also discrimination against indigenous people. So I think this is a very current discussion, and it has a social importance. Linguistically, it is inevitable that two languages in contact are going to be like at the end, it's going to create a mix of both of them. So Quechua has Spanish influence, and we are losing a lot of sounds, I will say, phonetically, but we are also missing some morphology because of the influence of Spanish. But we are also very strong, and we're influencing Spanish. And there is something called Andean Spanish, and this is specifically for Spanish from Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador, and parts of Colombia, where Quechua influence has been so drastic that Spanish now has been modified in these parts of the world. So it's just big tension. I can't answer how we can fix this or not. It's just part of the reality. And I think the first step that we can do is ask ourselves what's happening there and what can we do in the future. So yeah, what about Brazil?
Yeah, I think Brazil needs to learn a lot with Bolivia and how to expand indigenous language. Because, for example, my students from UFT or students at UFT, they had Portuguese because the campus would give them the Portuguese to promote workshops about indigenous language, promote activities. So students, indigenous students at UFT, they are engaged, but the other parts of Brazil, I can't talk. I went to UNB and I didn't see any indigenous like people there. Brasília is the capital of Brazil, and we have politics to people go to college in Brazil, university college, but still we're not seeing them. You know, UFT, love it. I love how they promote and engage indigenous students, but at UNB I didn't see any. And also before coming here, I was working a program that I used to teach English to indigenous community from the north of Brazil because of COP. So it was not like, okay, they are indigenous, they have their language, they know Portuguese as second language, and now they are learning English. So how difficult that, and how also that's really rich for me, like was really rich for me, because they would bring their culture to the English classes as well, the Portuguese class. So I remember a moment we were at UFT, it was a Portuguese, and we were talking about schedule. And I said, no, 2 in the afternoon, like 2 p.m. But I said, in the afternoon. We are going to meet in the afternoon. And then they were like, the afternoon for us is like for the whole period. We need to, you know, like they don't take in consideration like time as we do, like, you know. So it was like for me learning with them as well, that I had to specify what moment of the day, which specific, because for them it was like in the afternoon, we can go in the end of the afternoon, you know, like for them, the afternoon was really different from my perspective of afternoon. So I don't know if I made it clear. It was confusing. But also teaching English to indigenous community from the north of Brazil was a challenge because they were like, we were working with projects, like they want to learn English so they could talk for themselves at COP. They could explain what they are doing, they are fighting for, so they are represent their community, their country in another language, you know. So I tried to work with projects, even though it was teaching English, but taking in context their reality, you know, because it was like, okay, you're learning English. They don't want to know about US, guys. Sorry, because it's not their reality. They want to know how they can use the language to talk about their communities. You know, if I bring a video of people speaking English here in the US in a specific place, they're not going to understand. That's not their reality. So I try to bring like, okay, let's go. Let's talk about this. How would you talk about your environment project using the language with specific vocabularies, talking about Pará, talking about Amazonas, you know? So I tried to bring our reality to teach the other language, like a foreign language. So that's it.
And they would speak Portuguese?
Sorry?
Those indigenous groups, they would also speak Portuguese or no?
The English ones?
The ones you're teaching English?
Yeah, they also could could understand Portuguese. So it was like their third language, fourth language, you know.
And that's the process with me because I learned Quechua as some mother tongue. So I was happily speaking Quechua at home until I had to go to school because there wasn't schooling in Quechua at that time. So when we moved to Cochabamba and I started going to school, I learned Spanish at the same time. So it was a big change and a lot of mistakes by then. But I learned how to write and how to read and all the skills in Spanish. And that was the only language that I had learned to write until I got to university, where they taught us how to write Quechua and how to explain it. So I think I can share the same purpose with all these indigenous people who are learning English. It's because we want to explain ourselves. And sometimes it's very common that other people come to our communities and they think they know what we know and they write about us. But I think it is time for us to be also participants in this process, but not as people who are studied, but also people who are studying and who are publishing about themselves. So my English learning process was a bit more rough. I started learning English at the university, but it is a big class. It's like 100 people in the same class. So it was very hard to participate or to practice, really. And I was looking for volunteering opportunities with foreign people. So a lot of Americans come in or Europeans come in. And I was there always volunteering so I can get in touch with the language and practice a little bit. So then I think when I was like good enough with basics, I started teaching English to Spanish speakers or to Quechua speakers. And I just began to practice a bit more and to learn myself so I can teach others. And that's how I got here. So, but yeah, English would be my third or fourth language. Yeah.
And I think we have this type of wish when we learn something, when we have opportunities, we want to give it back. So I think that's why I try to engage in projects and volunteer opportunities because of this, because, okay, I had the opportunity to learn, but others, they don't, or they didn't. So I tried to do that in Brazil. That's okay.
Yeah. What else was it? I'm sorry. We're talking too much.
I think we have more questions.
So I wanted to ask, particularly with Quechua, you mentioned the social acceptability of Quechua being spoken in Bolivia, and as well as the people asking, why would you teach Quechua in the United States? I wanted, and I don't know how old you are, but I can kind of guess based on what you said about not having Quechua in schools growing up, about kind of how the reinvention of the Bolivian state, the plurinational state, has affected the social acceptability of Quechua at home, especially like in the cities, like, further out from the mountains, as well as kind of the resources to learn Quechua abroad. Because there's, I think, an idea in the United States that you really shouldn't learn a language unless it is useful, which means it can generate capital, that a nation state has it as their official language, which is why, you have languages that have tens of millions of speakers that aren't being offered here because there's no nation state for it. But in the case of, Quechua, all of a sudden, the late 2000s come around, Evo Morales, and now there is a nation state that sees Quechua as well as Spanish, as well as Aymara, other tongues, as being its official language. And I'm wondering how that drastic political shift has made Quechua more socially acceptable, but also more accessible if you're a non-Quechua speaker, especially an indigenous non-Quechua speaker.
Well, that's a big question, so I will try to cover summarizing parts of history. Yeah, so before, Quechua wasn't allowed in schools, and Quechua people couldn't get an education. And it's been since 1991, after the first big indigenous protest in Bolivia, that we got access to education. And I think it was in 1995, more or less, where the new education law allowed people to learn Quechua in schools. So that's where it began. But the attitude towards the Quechua speakers was still really bad. And as I was saying before, you were not even allowed to be in the same restaurant than the other people. And I think that changed in a drastic way when Evo Morales actually won the presidency, and people elected him, and many people were very happy with his election. And until that time, we didn't know who we are. We were just campesinos, you know, people who work in the rural area. But it was like, it wasn't an identity. It was like what the job that you do, but not who you were. And I think after the change of the constitution with Evo Morales, we finally got the opportunity to call ourselves what we are. So now I can proudly say I am a Quechua from Bolivia. I can say I am Aymara from Bolivia. I am whatever ethnic you are, plus the nationality of your country. But before that, it wasn't possible to say who we were. It was just, you know, random people, Indians or Indios in Bolivia. So that was a big change, and that also allowed people to be proud of themselves. Also allow people to get the courage to ask for more. Oh, now we don't just want education. We also want to participate in politics. We also want to get postgraduate titles. We also want to be this. So it allows us to dream and to be able to see that there is more that we can achieve. But sadly, this change doesn't go as fast as we want. And societies tend to hide their beliefs according to the political situation. So at that time, yeah, everyone was very accepting and yeah, sure, indigenous, that's good. And you could see clothes like mine, our aguayos, our textiles wearing, you know, people were wearing a lot of these things. But in the end, very deep, I think they didn't change their mind. Because it was only 2018 when Evo Morales flew the country and the political situation changed when people that were accepting before indigenous population very fast they changed their mind and decided, oh no, this is not acceptable anymore. And now we are going to return to the Republic of Bolivia, and the end of the plurinational Bolivia is going to be here and now. So it was a big fight. And I think even now there is still this tension between indigenous population and, you know, mestizo population, I would say. But changes have occurred there, and I think we got opportunities from them, and there is still a lot of things to do though. Yeah.
A question for each of you. One of my interests in linguistics is the acquisition of language and the relationships between language. So for our native Portuguese speaker, for all the native Portuguese speakers here, I wonder if you realize that to a Russian speaker, Portuguese sounds like Russian. Are you aware of that, Portuguese speakers?
Yes.
I just wonder. I mean, I speak a little Russian. When I would hear Portuguese speaking, I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah,
And that
people
my Russian
actually
before-
stop us when we are talking and say, oh, are you Russian?
Yeah, and finally, I Googled what is Portuguese. And there are several reasons for that. So I was curious if Portuguese speakers know that. But about Quechua, here's what I wonder about Quechua. Of course, if you're an American and you hear someone speaking British English or Irish English or Australian or South African English, you can hear their accent. So I wonder, what is the range of accents among Quechua speakers throughout parts of South America? Or is there a more uniform Quechua accent? Can you tell where someone's from when you hear them speaking Quechua, where in South America?
So I think when you hear Spanish, you can tell that this person is from a certain region. And when we speak Quechua, it's the same. I can clearly differentiate a Quechua speaker from Ecuador, for example, or a Quechua speaker from Peru. But when we're speaking Spanish, you can also see that it's very different. So syntactically, we make some changes. And it's very common for Quechua speakers. Quechua has an order of subject, object, and verb. Yeah. And Spanish has a different order. So it is subject, verb, and object. But when we speak Spanish, we tend to put the verb at the end of the sentences. And there are like bigger structures, like subordinate sentences that we don't have like words to subordinate in Quechua. It's just the syntax order that subordinates. So we tend to forget the connectors in Spanish and we just put the words in Quechua. So you can clearly notice when someone is not, it is an Andean language speaker and a Spanish speaker, and also where like Quechua is coming from when you listen to it. Yeah.
I also wonder, one more quick thing. In India, of course, they have English, people who speak sentences that are a mix of Hindi and English back and forth. Do you ever speak sentences that are a mix of Quechua and Spanish?
Oh yeah, because it's so fun. I think especially my city, which is Cochabamba, is the center of Bolivia. We have a lot of places with Quechua names. We have a lot of food dishes with Quechua names. And it's very common for people there to refer to Cochabamba as La Yachta. So if you go to Bolivia, you are going to La Yachta. And Yachta is a Quechua word, but we used to refer that we're going to Cochabamba, to La Yachta. And when we are joking and we are, just having fun with languages, we mix languages. And there are like particular words in Quechua that are now in Spanish, and they are accepted by the Real Academia Española. So yeah, we mix a lot.
Ruth, I would like to know, as ambassador of an indigenous language and culture, what do you think it is the most important lesson that you want your students to take when they finish your course? I also want to know what, as like working for Quechua, what do you see Quechua in the future? What are you working for according to the Quechua in the future? How you see the language expanding or not expanding, and yeah, and also Thatiellen. Also, what do you think it is the most important lesson that you want your students to achieve?
Yeah, I think for the first objective would be that my students here at Pitt can see that we exist to begin with. That the next time that they hear Quechua, they know what we are referring to. And that maybe if they want to get to know Latin America, they can take into account also Quechua knowledge, Quechua experience, and Quechua history. But I think it's very meaningful for me to be here as a person because it's very enriching. But I also think that for the students, it's a great opportunity to be curious without being judged. So I'm open to any question they want to ask, and I'm open to share everything that they want to know. And I think my presence here is not only important for my students here at Pitt, but also for my students back in Bolivia and my people back in Bolivia. And I remember that I posted the picture that I was here, that I was going to be working, studying here at Pitt. And one of my students, I was teaching French before, and he is a Quechua speaker. But he said like, oh, I want to do this one day. Me too. I want to be in this position one day and teaching Quechua abroad. And I was like, yeah, that's the full mission. That people can take power into their hands and they can see the future. They can feel inspired about this, and that they can have a vision of what is next for them too. So I think it's a win-win relationship for me, for my students here, but also for my students back in Bolivia. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think that when we learn a language, as also a learner, because I love learning other languages, we don't just learn a language. Like we learn their culture, we learn their history, we learn their songs, So what I try to bring to my class, and I want my students to realize that how huge Brazil is, how different and multicultural we are. And like from the north to the south of Brazil, we are different. So there are specific springs in the north of Brazil, specific dishes, specific songs, specific rhythms. So it's not only about the language. You are learning different cultural. You are growing up. You are expanding your knowledge because you're not just learning a language. You are learning other ways of thinking about the world. You know. So, and also not only Brazil, because Portuguese is spoken in Africa, you know, and it's spoken in other parts of the world. So it's not like I want them to be curious using the language, you know. That's it.
We have a question from online from Joyce. She
Joyce.
couldn't be able to join us in person, but she thank you both for your sharing this inspiring journey to be with us here today. And she loved how Ruth talked about, mentioned that Quechua is not only her language, but her identity to it. And she asked, how do you both combine language teaching and identity expressions in your classes? So you both could share a little bit more.
Yeah, so, well, I would love to wear this every day of my life, but it is so expensive, so I'm sorry, I can't. But I think being a Quechua person and teaching, it has to do with how we do things. And I remember a particular class when we had a person that was invited to give a talk. She is a Quechua person. And in my culture, it's not common to talk about yourself. It's a culture of community. So when you talk too much about yourself, it can be seen as bragging. And I don't want to do that. So I talk about this with the students, and I said, this is not common in our culture, so I'm going to introduce her. And I introduced her. So I think in small things like that, in the way of being, in the way of behaving, in the way of reasoning things before doing, we can see already the culture. It doesn't have to be always like wearing the most traditional clothes that you can find or anything. So being Quechua, it's what I am. So in everything that I do, I show how Quechua and how it is Quechua. Yeah.
So during the FLTA process, we were debating we had access to the other process, like the last editions from the program. And then from this edition, we are 12, only 2 people are from the north of Brazil, me and Amanda. Amanda's from Amazonas. And I was talking to her, we were also checking the other. We have few people from north of Brazil. So it's like Brazil is huge, and what highlights a lot is south and southeast of Brazil, because naturally, I don't want to say like naturally, but in general, they have more opportunities. The opportunity to achieve them more south and southeast of Brazil. Probably we have heard about someone from Rio or São Paulo. You know, I'm sure about that. I'm not trying to. How can I say diminuir? So I'm not going to say that it's not. Yeah, we love how Brazilians are everywhere. We will say that. Oh, Brazilians are everywhere. Okay, but like currently you're going to see someone from the north of Brazil. North of Brazil are getting highlight right now because of COP and Amazon and things like that, but it was not like this, you know. So people from Tocantins, I'm the first one, the first FLTA from Tocantins. You know, these programs exist, I think since 2020 something, 22, I don't know, I'm not sure. But I was checking the program last edition, nobody from Tocantins. So I'm the first FLTA in the US from my state. So how huge and important is that? And I was like, I'm really happy that I'm bringing this because North Brazilians are all the time talking about North. You're going to see Amanda, she's going to also talk about Amazonas, because what do we want? We want to be notes as well. We are huge, we are more than Amazon, not only Amazon. people live in Amazon, people live in these states, and we are so rich, like, culturally speaking, different ways. Even Brazilians in general don't know a lot about the north of Brazil, even Brazilians. So that's a huge opportunity to bring two classes, and I'm going to get sensitive right now. I'm really happy about being here, represent not only my culture, but only my country, but also my state, the north of Brazil.
Thank you. So I guess. So last question by Ana Paula.
Gosh, tem uma pergunta, mas... I was just curious because you're talking about, expression and your identity, and Ruth, when you talk about the fact that in your culture you don't share a lot. As a Brazilian, we do the opposite. We share
Too much.
the opposite. If a student asks me, how are you? Oh, gosh. I'm gonna say exactly how I am. In translating this into the classroom, right? Because especially when I started teaching at Pitt, I was trained, you can't point to a student, you can't get close to a student, you can't do this, you can't do this. Of course, so popular because I did exactly the opposite. My class was always chaotic, the way I like, with everyone talking at the same time. So how do you deal with that? Because here you have a curriculum, you have language coordinators, fantastic support from directors and coordinators, but you have a curriculum, you have to teach something. Students here are very focused on grammar. They think learning is to learn how to speak in specific ways. But we know that cross-cultural skills, intercultural competencies are extremely important. Doesn't matter if you're going to go to graduate school or you're working in a company, it's a very valuable skill. So how do you deal with that in the classroom?
Oh, I'm so lucky because I have a translator. And yeah, which is Alana. Because we work together. So when we plan things, and sometimes I get overly excited for Todos Santos, for example, and I want to bring food and I want everyone in the class to go and bake with us. And she's like, oh, and Gretchen and Rob, who are here too, they are the biggest support that I can have, because I think also what I read in the classroom in a Bolivian university is different to what I read in the classroom here. Like students' behavior, maybe attitudes, comments, language, everything is different. And when I finish class with Alana, we always talk, how did it go? You realize this, or you see this, you saw this. I noticed this, and we comment a lot, how are we doing? And when we plan things, we also take into account each other's perspective. And she is such a great person, but also she's very professional with the things that she does. So she's always going, pointing out what can we improve and what is good and what did when. So she's a great help. But also when I myself, a student, I have a cultural shock or I don't understand something, I go directly to Gretchen or Rob and I ask, hey, is this how it works? Is this normal? So it's great to have a team that's behind us and supporting us during this process. So yeah, I'm trying to adapt myself to the new situation.
What was the question?
Do you find it hard to knowing the importance of cross-cultural competences in your classroom, and yet you have to teach a curriculum, you have a book, you have, all of that. Did you encounter any issue with students that they have specific needs there, they want a language class, they come from a system that, count production of language in a way differently that we want in our language, right? We want the opposite. We want that students really have competence in a language. We don't see it only in a language, like in words, speaking as more than this.
Something I have realized that, as I already mentioned, that I think students are really engaged here. I know that they are taking courses and a lot of different disciplines, etc. And I had an experience with a student that he was really inspired when I started speaking Portuguese. Like I so excited at the time, and then the first class I was speaking a lot of Portuguese. I'm so excited, and he had like, whoa, what is happening? And I think he got a little bit scared of having classes with me. And then like the second time I tried to, no, okay guys, sorry for speaking a lot of Portuguese. So I tried to balance and speak slowly. But then they realized that it was really not so difficult, so like try to mix with English so they could calm down and see that my classes were not so hard how they thought they would be. And I try to bring like also, okay, I need to teach my language, I need to teach this curriculum, but I want my class to have fun. They want to have fun learning a language, you know. So I don't put a lot of pressure, like you need to speak like this, and this, and this, and we have the exams. Because I learned language in a good environment that I didn't have this pressure. I know the academic system, we want them to produce, but when you feel pressured, you don't produce. So I don't want them to feel pressured, you know, even though they are struggling with something. If I need to help a student out of class or, you know, my office hours, I'm going to talk to them in private. But that's it. I want my language class to be fun, not only for the curriculum, you know. I don't know if you understand, but I'm still professional, I swear.
And I'm sure that we're going to be able to answer this question better once we have more experience, and at the end of our time here.
Because only August and October and November.
It's 2 months. We're still learning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.